Good night, everyone. I am Dr. Kereisia Brown-Lyesam, your host here at the Empower Her to Succeed talk show. With me joining later on will be Miss Sinead Johnson. But tonight's topic will be focusing on success and the limitations that prevents persons from actually gaining success, fulfilling their dreams and walking into their purpose. So what if the only thing standing between you and the life God designed for you is a lie? You have been believing for too long. For too long, many people believe that God doesn't want them to be successful. Or for too long, people believe that success is not theirs. Well, tonight, we are having a conversation that could change the trajectory of your life forever. We are talking about success, why it belongs to you, what has been holding you back from it, and exactly how you can break free. Whether you're battling a poverty mindset, lack of money, lack of support, lack of knowledge, or simply the voice inside your head that keeps telling you that you are not enough, tonight that will change. I am Dr. Kereisia Brown-Lyesam again. We never want to start our discussion without first playing our theme song. So tag your friends, reach out to your friends, tell them to join and your family members because tonight will help you to unlock your success, your pathway to success.
She's rising up, heart full of grace. With every step, she's paving the way. Through every storm, she finds a light. With faith in her soul, she's ready to fight. From the pain, she finds a power, turning trials into golden hours. Challenges don't stand a chance. She's on a mission, taking a stand. Empower her to succeed. Fuel her fire, plant the seed. Let her overcome, let her lead. She's the potential the world needs. With love, with faith, with every breath she takes. A transformative story is what we make. This is her life, this is her creed. Empower her to succeed. Not just a dreamer, she's a doer too. Breaking ceilings, breaking through. With every voice that lifts her name. Together we rise, we shift the game. She's more than enough. She's made to rise above. When the world says no, she answers with love. Empower her to succeed. Fuel her fire, plant the seed. Let her overcome, let her lead. She's the potential the world needs. With love, with faith, with every breath she takes. A transformative story is what we make. Well, this is her life, this is her creed. Empower her to succeed. With Kereisia and shame, yeah. Hear her rise. This is where challenges meet purpose and dreams touch the skies. Empower her to succeed. Empower her to succeed. Fuel the fire, plant the seed. Let her overcome, let her lead. She's the potential the world needs. With love, with faith, with every breath she takes. A transformative story is what we make. And this is her life, this is her creed.
Welcome again, everyone that is tuning in tonight from Facebook and YouTube. I am your host, Dr. Kereisia Brown-Lyesam, and I'm so happy to have you on tonight. Tonight's episodes will focus on the topic success is yours. Oftentimes, persons feel like it's only certain persons can achieve success. What I want to share with you tonight that each and every one of us can be successful in any of the goals that you want or dreams that you want to be successful at. It all boils down to a mindset. It all boils down to, finding what really is limiting you. So, since success is yours and you're not attaining any success as you would have wished per se, what is limiting you? All right. So, before we dive in, please drop a comment and just tell me where you are joining from. Thank you again for joining. And if this is your first time joining, then you can subscribe on our YouTube channel. Tonight's episode will be focusing on success is yours. How to um break free from the limitations that are holding you back. And so many of you from time to time would have been asking yourselves a few questions. And why so many people struggle, I would ask, to believe that success truly belongs to them. Why some people believe success is only reserved for a privileged few, and the truth that dismantle that lie. So this session tonight will be covering those things, and I want you to engage with me tonight and write in the chat. I'm going to be asking a few questions, and I'm going to be putting some questions on the screen tonight. So the most powerful limitation silently stealing people's success, that includes money, knowledge, access, and support. Also, you have the poverty mindset, what it is, why it is more dangerous than financial lack alone, and how to break it. How fear, toxic relationships, imposter syndrome, and generational cycles quietly keep people stuck. And so I will be giving you some practical faith based steps that I would have used in my own personal life to help me break free from the limitations that held me back. I'll also give you a sneak peek just to let you know that this topic really comes from my upcoming book series that is called Success is Yours. And my first series will be focusing on how to break free from the limitations holding you back. Welcome again. As I said before, I am your host, Dr. Kereisia Brown-Lyesam, and welcome to the Empower Her to Succeed talk show, where we empower women to achieve success. Let me share with you a little story about myself. I never born with the title Dr. Kereisia Brown-Lyesam. I was born with the title Kereisia Brown. Born and raised in a poor, humble home, raised by my grandparents. My parents were teenagers. And when teenagers have children, how they go through some form of psychological effects and also financial lack. And so my grandparents would have decided to take up the responsibility, and I'm so happy that they did so, because I've learned a lot of things during life, and to be resilient, and to learn how to be consistent, and to know that it doesn't matter where I am coming from and where you are coming from. That does not dictate where you will end. Because in the middle, where you started to where you end, based on the decision that you make, then that will speak to where you will end. So I was grown in Trelawney, here in Jamaica, with my grandparents. They grew me. I've faced many challenges. have faced, one of my major challenge was financial lack, because I would have grown with them. Just let me just, break down the raw thing to you. My grandparents, they never knew well, my grandmother, she didn't know her father. Likewise, my grandfather. And my grandmother never saw her mother until 60 years after. So you would have seen a bit of gap there with the generation. But nevertheless, even though my grandmother would not have, her mom around and her father, she did not deprive us of the love. Life was not easy, it was challenging. And for them, success was not supposed to be anywhere near them. So I want to give you a background why I am saying that success is yours. Because there are many of us, or I would say might be you are at a place now where where you came from. People are saying you cannot become anything good. Just like Jesus, they asked the question, can anything good come from Nazareth? Because they like Nazareth as somewhere that if you grow in Nazareth, just like we would talk about uh, the uh, the inner city communities, and people sometimes suffer, in getting a job, even if they are brilliant and would have had their certificates. Sometimes it is as though they don't want to employ them because of where they are coming from. So people's perspective are developed sometime as a result of knowing where you came from, your background. It does not mean that you come from a background that is all uh, one that the character or personalities that you would have developed somewhat is of a bad reputation. But simply because you do not have, certain resources, then people look down on you and think that you should not, be successful in society. I am used to my grandparents being fishermen, going to the sea, uh, looking fish. And today, I always say to people that I am not a lover of fish because I've ate it morning, noon, and the night. So I'm so used to it that I prefer chicken over fish, somewhat. And I would have ate different, meals from the sea, morning, noon, and night, that I grew tired of it. But that's what they had, and I had to live on it. All right. And my grandmother was a homemaker, a farmer, and I saw where they worked very hard in life. Also, my grandfather normally would travel, on the farm work program, and he's also someone that does construction. And they were very good in their craft, very good, very skillful. My grandparents, they were very skillful, and so I would have learned a lot from their humble beginning. How to be resilient, how to, be satisfied with whatever you have, be contented with whatever you have. There were people who love people. They never look down on anybody. God would have allowed them to, reach somewhere in life, and they always seek to help people. And I would have learned, because sometimes, let me say this to you, you might be going through your situation, but God allows you to go through it because He wants you to learn. But success, for some people believe that success only belongs to a class of persons. And so tonight, you might be facing some limitation that is preventing you, the perspective of others, how people look on you, right? And you're struggling, you're battling to achieve success. So I want to say to you tonight that success is yours. It does not matter the limitation that you face. Success is for everybody. If you can, strengthen your mind, if you can understand who you are and know your identity, then you can achieve success. So back to the story. So I grew up, while I grew up with my grandparents, I received the Lord at age 14. And that was a turning point for me. That turning point allowed me from the scripture to understand in Jeremiah 29 and verse 11. The Bible says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future." So when I look back on my situation, growing in poverty, growing in a humble home, lack finances, just to let you know, because of the lack of finances, I was not able to change, my clothes and wear new clothes every month or every week and so on, because you grow up with your grandparents, you don't have that luxury. You might have to wait for an aunt or an uncle or somebody, to send you a new clothes, what for the Christmas. So you will find out that throughout the year you maybe only get a new pants or a new shirt or a dress once for the year. And so sometimes persons use your current situation to judge you. And this is not to knock anybody, but I just want to erase and dismantle certain belief, because there are many times we are not successful because we believe a lie. But tonight, you I want to let you know that you can be successful. So I got saved, and my turning point came about, when the Lord would have spoken to me and he says, "Kereisia, for I know the plans I have for you." Irregardless of your current situation. And just to say to you, I lost my dad too when I was 14 years old, you know, and so certain level of support, I never had it, as I should. But God says, "I know the plans I have for you." Irregardless of what you are facing, irregardless of the environment that you are in, irregardless of the perspective of others, I have a plan for you. And that plan is to prosper you. So you might not see yourself prospering now, but the plan that I have, once you follow my blueprint, it's to prosper you and not to harm you. So I want to say to you that you might be going through your situation now and you think that it is to harm you. I want to say to you that it is not to harm you. It is God's plan working out in your life. The Bible says that all things work together for good to them that love the Lord, right? And so I want to say that God is saying to you tonight, He knows the plans that He has for you. A plan to prosper you and not to harm you. A plan to give you a hope and a future. So you might feel hopeless tonight, but God says, "Listen, my plan that I have, when I work it out, then you will realize that, guess what? Hope," and the Bible says, "Hope make it not ashamed." So that scripture changed my life, my perspective on life. It changed my mindset to say that regardless of, not being able to find the money to buy clothes, or finding the money to go to college, or having certain support system, and what I like about my grandparents is that they taught me to be contented with what I have. And I would have seen where that, last with me, even as a grown adult, that, sometimes the things that you go through, God is preparing you for your future. So, it says His plan is not to harm you, but to give you a hope and a future. And God wants to give you a future. God doesn't look on your now, God looks on you in your future state. When He would have worked on you, as Jeremiah says, the Lord brought Jeremiah down to the potter's house, and He says, "Cannot I do with you as the potter does with the clay?" And so God wants to work it out. Some of us weren't born in, certain, some of us weren't born with certain luxury. Let's go back a little bit to Jesus. Jesus was born in a manger. He was not born in a hospital in their time. He was born in a manger, a place that you would never ever think that a baby would born. They thought that the King of Glory would come with in robe, so that they can say, yes, here's my King. But Jesus came in a different form, and I believe that the Lord would have introduced Jesus to the earth in a lowly state, because he was able, to understand each and every one of our situation. And that is why he says that he can be touched by the feelings of our infirmity. So I want to say to you tonight that success is yours. And whatever is limiting you tonight, I want to say that it stops as of tonight. Because there is no boundary when it comes on to God. He has a plan for you, and He will work out His plan if you allow Him to do so. So tonight, I want to have a few questions that I will be putting up, because I'll be talking about it. My first question is, why so many people struggle to see success as something that truly belongs to them? And you can put in the chat, right? I see where persons are writing in the chat. Ruth is saying she's in the house, from St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. Thank you for joining. Jordan's World is saying good evening, watching from Covington, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining. So, why so many people struggle to see success as something that truly belongs to them? I want you to write in the chat if you think that success belongs to you. Answer yes or no. Do you think that success belongs to you? Because many persons don't believe. The question is, someone is asking me to repeat, why so many people struggle to see success as something that truly belongs to them. So I'm asking the question with, you can answer yes or no. Are you struggling to see that success belongs to you? Or do you believe that based on what you would have been through, the perspective of others? Let me just share. Remember when I was at the University of Technology, Jamaica, there was someone that I knew long ago. His family is one that, is, I say, they have a lot of money. And when he saw me, he was like, what are you doing here? And I mean, I said, I am here studying, but it left a lasting impression on me after, to say, maybe he's saying that I don't belong here. And that's the reason, maybe he would have been asking me so. Sometimes people's perspective will cause you to struggle, in believing that success belongs to you. But success belongs to everybody. And you can do your research. Everybody who is successful, they had to start from somewhere. Success does not just come like that. You have to start from somewhere. All right. All right. So success is already assigned to you. God has assigned it to you. It's not something that you earn. It's not a privilege. All right. It is not just for the educated or the well connected. Because sometimes people believe that because they are not connected to a certain class of persons, then success does not belong to them. I want to say to you tonight that success is a divine assignment. And because it is a divine assignment, it is already placed on your life. God stamped that on your life from the beginning. All right? As I said before, I grew up in poverty. I lost my father. I was diagnosed with chronic glaucoma. And I was told in many ways by many voices. Sometimes people don't just say it from their voice, right? But the way how they react to you, it says that they have a lower expectation of you. But I want to say to you tonight that do not accept it. Do not accept that. Do not accept people's perception to be a final address. God has assigned you, He has purposed you, He has a plan for you. So success is not contingent on your past. So it doesn't matter what your past look like. Once you would have, be strategic enough and you work on your future and make a change. So if you would have lost millions of dollars, for example, in the past because you lack knowledge, it does not mean that you cannot gain money again. Because guess what? It's just a change of strategy or mindset. So someone in the chat is saying some people have not been given the opportunity. And I want to be talking about some of those later. So your success is not contingent on your past. And it's also not cancelled by the mistakes that you have made in life. It's not determined by who are your parents, or the resources that you currently have. No. I want to say to you tonight that it is assigned by God. And what God has assigned, no limitation can permanently deny you of success. So I want you to get that. But guess what happened? Limitations, they feel real, Challenges, obstacles, they are real. So when we talk about gaining success, we don't mean just being successful because yes, there are obstacles, there are limitations, there are barriers to success. But if success is truly yours, then if you go after it, work hard enough, find the right strategies, then you will achieve success. All right. So, every time you allow someone's opinion of you to become your opinion of yourself, you gave limitation permission to stay. So, let me just share with you 5 reasons success belongs to you and not your limitation. One, I want you to understand that you were created with purpose. And because you were created with purpose and not by accident, you're not here by chance. Every experience and every painful situation you have been through, guess what? It can be woven and fabricated into your purpose. And that is the reason why God says that all things will work together for good. Good? So, another reason why success belongs to you and not your limitation, I want you to understand that poverty of the mind is a choice. And I'm talking about poverty in terms of money now. I'm talking about poverty of the mind. It is a choice and you can unmake it. I have my own philosophy that says poverty is second only to sin as a weapon against humanity. And that is my own personal philosophy. Because I would have seen how poverty, allow persons not to access certain opportunity, would have degraded persons and lower their standards of life. I would have seen where brilliant minds just don't get the opportunity to showcase. And sometimes the person who is in poverty might just be the answer for a problem that the world is battling. But because they do not have certain access, to showcase their skills, then of course we are robbed of that. So it is important that you understand that poverty is dangerous. All right. But likewise, poverty of the mind. is more powerful. And I'm going to talk about that. Because guess what? You can have a lot of money, but because you don't have the knowledge and the understanding, you're not rich with knowledge and so on, then you're not able to use that money, to better yourself and to invest it and so on. So through God's word, um, we must understand that we can rewrite our future. Your history does not write your future. Where you started is not where you are sentenced to stay. I am a living testimony. I said to you earlier on that someone who was grown in a humble home, poverty, lack resources, right, should not be called Dr. Kereisia Brown-Lyesam. Grown in a broken family, lost my dad from age 14. And I know that many of you out there, you might have other stories, that might be worse off than myself. But irregardless, we all have similar impact. Because when you have persons, looking at you a certain way, don't think that you should become, or when you need something like going to school and you're not able to go to school, or when you would have wanted, you know to keep your house and you don't know how to keep it because you don't have the resources, and so you're losing your home, you're losing your family and all of that, then these will affect your success. So your history does not write your future. All right? Consistency defeats limitation every time. And God's plan for you has already accounted for every obstacle. So we have Jordan's world saying some people have not been given the opportunity. Some people hang around the wrong persons and they have not had the internal motivation. Thank you so much, Jordan's world. All right. So okay. All right. So the struggle really begins with what people have been shown more than what they were told. So if you grew up in an environment where no one is being successful, then that's what you see. All right. When you grow up in an environment where success is absent, where you never see anyone around you break through, where poverty is the norm, where struggle is a generational situation or a generational pattern, then your mind begins to accept that as your reality. So you want to be successful, but that becomes your reality because of the environment that you grow up in. All right? That's what you see people who you are used to, doing. Uh, Poverty is the norm. Struggle. That's what you would have seen. And you being successful and not be able to be successful, it's not because you are weak. All right? It is because of what you believe. Because there are avenues that you can use to be successful. There's the other side where people will look at someone else's dream and say, who do you think you are? Sometimes people will say, who you think you are? None of us here have ever become the teacher or the lawyer or the prime minister. So who you think you are? Or none of us here would have ever, gone global to motivate persons or to help people in the community, to transform their lives and so on, or to start a business or to even get married, whatever it is. None, no, who do you think you are? Right? So some people will ask you that question because they are measuring you based on their own measuring stick. And they are saying, and they laugh too, that you cannot be successful because if I never attain success in that area, I don't see how you will become successful. So people from your background and your economical status, right? Might not see that you can be successful. But sometimes what you have to do is to shift, create a shift in your mind, create a move. And once you create a move, then the Lord will help you to attain success. So success is not a privilege. All right? It's not a geographic privilege. It is a divine right. And that's what I want you to know tonight. So just understand that success is for everyone. And some people, in terms of the question, why do so many people struggle to see success? They struggle because of how they were grown, their mindset, what they are used to. And so they don't believe that success belongs to them, that they can be successful. You might be in that shoes now that you don't think that you can be successful. It can be that you don't think that you can have a successful marriage because when you look, there's a generational pattern in your family where everybody that gets married gets divorced. It can be that you don't think that you can go to college, right? Because nobody in your family actually went to college. And so that is the belief system over the years that you would have developed. It becomes the norm. You might not believe that you can write a book. You might not believe that you can start a business because nobody around you would have, gone beyond the limitation to write a book, to start a business. And so sometimes what happens is that fear steps in, even if, your inner person is saying to you, start a business or write a book or go back to college or your marriage can work or you can have children. And so your inner narrative, because of how you were structured or built based on your environment, causes you to be afraid and you feel as though success does not belong to you. Even when you see other persons successful, you think that it is unattainable. All right, you're struggling with it because of the norm that you're used to. And that is the reason why the Lord would have said to Abram, get out of your country and from your kindred to a place that I will show you. Sometimes you have to get out, you have to move. Not that you're forgetting your family and your friends and all of that, all right? But sometimes you have to move. But the first move that you need to make is the move, a shift in the mind to tell yourself that, look here, I can be successful. Once you tell yourself that you can be successful, because let me tell you something, it is easier for God to work with a mindset that believes that they can be successful than a mindset that is not willing to move. Because God can direct you once you are moving. But if you're not moving from your mind, are moving to do anything, then it's hard because now God is going to have to help you to shift your mind, right? But if you can reach a place where you can shift your mindset and say that even though this is the norm, I can be successful. I can have a family that is not that is raised in a generation or in a world where um is more negative than positive, or I can start a business, or I can go back to school, or I can invest, or I can study, or whatever it is. I just want to say to you tonight that you can be successful. All right. So if you have a question regarding question one, success, why so many people struggle to see success as something that truly belongs to them, then you can ask me any question. So I am moving on to question two. Why do some people believe that success is only reserved for a selected few and not for people who look like them? Come from where they come from. Well, I just spoke to that per se, so I'm going to move on to the other question. Question three. What are the most common limitations that silently steal people's success? And why are these limitations so powerful that most people never even recognize them for what they truly are? I want you to write in the chat some of the limitations that you think silently steals people's success, right? You can write some of the limitations that you think that silently prevents persons from being successful, because I'm going to be looking on different categories. So I want to look on the category of mental and mindset limitations. Mental and mindset limitations. So I spoke earlier on about the poverty mindset. So because you're poor, you don't think that you can come out of your situation. All right? It has been a deep-seated belief that there is never enough because you're used to, not having enough. So you always think that there is never enough money for you, never enough love, never enough resources, nothing at all for you. So limitations that hold people back. As I said, I'm talking about the mental and mindset limitations. And the first one that I want to talk about is the poverty mindset. I see where someone wrote in the comment section. So Ruth Grinley is saying negative words that were spoken over them, personality, fear is the number one limitation. All right. And I'm going to be talking about that as I go down because it would surprise you the many things that limits your success that sometimes you don't even realize that that is what is preventing your success. So poverty mindset. So you think that there is not enough. Success is out of your reach. Sometimes you even hear a little voice, that is saying to you, stay small, don't get big. If you get big, what is going to happen to you? And so on. A little voice that disguises itself, all right? And telling you that, listen, stay small. But I want to say to you tonight, don't stay small. Not because you have encountered the norm of not enough. It means that you are to stay small. No. You can move from that small space, just like you might have a house and maybe you're grown in a particular setting, right? And you have the dream of building a bigger house, but then you hear a voice saying, stay small. Don't bother to build a big house. Those are negative thoughts. If your dream is to get a big house, do not allow where you come from or what you believe or the perspective, and I'm just using that as an example, to stop you. You just want to know that you have the right motive. Not is not to show off on anybody. But if you feel that that will give you fulfillment and you want to do it and you're working very hard, then go ahead. So from time to time, you have small voices that, speaking to you and say, you cannot do that. You cannot go and work in Europe. For me, God would have given me the opportunity to work as a teacher in France, right? And we're talking about someone who grew up in a low state where my grandparents didn't have money. When I was going to France, I only had 40 euros. And it was through faith, And when I reached France, I realized that a friend of mine who had a whole lot of money, Jamaican money, when she went to Paris, they didn't change they don't change Jamaican money. And I told her, I said, change the money from Jamaica. And my $40 became the $4 million because I had to share my $40 with my friend. So let me tell you something. There is no limit. We oftenly, told at school that the sky is the limit, and it means that there is no limit. So do not allow your deep-seated belief, right, to tell you that you are not enough and that success is not yours. So get rid of the poverty mindset. And I'm not talking about poverty in terms of money now. I'm talking about mindset, being poor in your mind, not strong enough to know that, or you have to change your perspective. So, another limitation would be fear of failure. There are some persons, they want to try. The idea is in the mind. But because they are used to, people around them failing, then they are afraid to try. But I want to say to you, do not let that paralyzing belief stop you from trying. Even if you fail, I want to encourage you to try again. Because when you fail, you can learn from it. All right? So do not be afraid of failure. Once you fail, learn from it, get help from people who are successful in the area, all right? And work at your dream again. You have ever heard about the light bulb situation where the gentleman tried 99 times and the 100th times what happened? So do not be afraid, right, to fail. And I want to say to you that you're not going to fail. So don't allow fear of failure to paralyze you. All right? Another limitation that prevents persons from being successful is fear of success. Some persons are fearful for some reason, right, of being successful. They fear the change when they actually, gain success. Because they're not used to it, then they are fearful. Fearful to get new responsibilities because with success comes new responsibilities, new expectation. Sometimes people are fearful of leaving their environment because when they become successful, they are fearful of what others will say. To say that you forget them. Never forget your family and your friends when you become successful. But you don't need to be afraid. And these are innate feelings. And this comes from how you were grown and your norm, what you are used to, the belief system that is grown in you over time. So do not be afraid of being successful. Another thing that limits you would have been negative self talk. And I would have seen where someone wrote in the chat. So you can't attain success because you're always rehearsing negative thoughts that you're inadequate, that you don't have the resources. Poor me, I don't know how to do it. What you are to do is to replace those negative self talks and be positive because you can do it. And if you cannot do it, then you can learn to do it. All right? So there is that internal voice that is constantly rehearsing and telling you about your inadequacy, your past mistakes, your unworthiness. and it's whispering. I want to tell you that those are lies. And you have to replace them with positive self talk. It means that you might have to regroup and be around people who are positive. It might mean that you need to start reading books that you know, speaks to your how adequate you are, how purposeful you are, how the plans that God has for you. All right. So your past mistakes might be talking to you and telling you that, look here, the same thing is going to happen. No, you have to think that it's not going to happen again. You have to think that you're worthy, because some people think that they are unworthy. But I want to say to you tonight that you're worthy. And so when you have negative self talk, I want to say to you that that is a dangerous critic. So people out there might talk negatively about you, but when you have an internal voice saying to you that you're not worthy, that you're inadequate, right? Then that is dangerous because it is coming from inside. You have to face up to it. And some people, before they even start, they will say, well, I don't think that I can be successful. No. If you think from the beginning that you're not going to be successful, then you're not going to be successful. And to top it off with a scripture, the Bible says, so a man thinketh, so is he. So if you think from the beginning that you are not successful, then you are everything, because we have creative power. So everything that you speak against yourself negatively will come into being, because we are a creative being. We were created in the image of God. God says, let there be light, and there was light. So we are not God, but we are created from God. And that is the reason why sometimes people will say, you talk like your mother, you behave like your father, and so on, because where you come from, you carry some of those attributes. So if you spring from God, then you're going to carry some of God's attribute and character. So if you speak negatively over yourself, then you are creating that in the atmosphere and it will work for you. So I want to say to you tonight, speak positively. As of tonight, speak positively. One of the things when I was in college, people always call me Miss Positive because I recognize that, my grandparents, they are now deceased. I love them dearly, right? But my grandparents, they were not avid readers. And as a result of that, when I became an adult, I made sure that I stood for them. So anything regarding reading, if it's the doctor, anything, I'm always there for them. Because they, even though they were not able to read, they were skillful and they stood with me, they support me, they worked very hard. They had 8 children and they grew myself and my brother, which it's like 10 children. And when you grow 8 children and you think that you would be getting some rest now and you take on 2 other children, then it extends what you have to do. So I have recognized, as I said to you, that the Lord told me about Jeremiah 29. He says, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So because of that change in my mind, whatever was happening in my life, I never ever thought less of myself. I always see the big picture, that my current circumstances does not dictate who I become, because God says he has a plan for me. And if he has a plan for me and I am walking in his will and direction, then that plan will manifest. So when I'm in college, they always call me Miss Positive, because everything, once you start to speak negative, I am telling you, look here, if you cannot speak positive around me, then you're going to have to leave. Or I will teach them how to speak positive. And I always say, stop talking negative. And I'm not talking about the realities of life, because we cannot deny certain realities. But we still have to speak and think positive. So even when everything is crumbling, you have to speak positive because we have creative power. And what we say will become. So you need to replace your negative self talk because that is posing as a limitation to your success, right? You have self doubt. You don't believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And for you, if you can't do it on your own, listen to videos, read books that empowers you. Read the Bible that speaks to who you are. You are created in the image and likeness of God. You were knitted in your mother's womb. So that makes you purposeful. That makes it where you can attain success just like anybody else. So get rid of the negative self talk. Another bulldozer, and I would have spoken to this explicitly in the book series, Success is Yours, is comparison. Do not compare yourself with another person. You're only limiting your ability as to what you can do. All of us, God has a plan for us individually. So I cannot be you and you cannot be me. So even if both of us doing the same talk show empower her to succeed, what I can do, right? You cannot do it. And what you can do, or the crowd that our audience that you can reach, I cannot reach. And the audience that I can reach, you cannot reach because we are made up differently. So do not compare yourself with another person that you forget your identity, that you forget what you were called for. All right? Do not measure yourself, all right, with somebody else. Even if you see that the person is being successful, just wait on your time because comparison is a measuring stick. And that is the reason why a lot of times people change who they are because they are comparing themselves to somebody else. All right? So comparison will kill your contentment. And you all of a sudden you start doing things and it breeds jealousy and it distracts you from your own path. So do not compare yourself with another. I call it comparison a bulldozer that will tear you down. So do not compare yourself because that in itself is a limitation to your success. We can learn from others, yes, and we can take strategies from others. Nothing is wrong with that. But you are not me and I am not you. So do not compare yourself with someone else. What you are to do is to develop your skills, develop your talents, or identify them because sometimes they are there. But because you are busy looking over the fence and looking at somebody else, you don't realize your own abilities. So don't compare yourself with somebody else. All right? Another limitation is perfectionism. Some of us love to wait until the perfect time. I'm waiting on God. Yes, you must wait on the Lord because the Lord says, wait upon the Lord and be of good courage. Yes. But some of us, God has given us the idea and we are still waiting on God. The Lord has told you to do something and you're waiting on God. Or you're waiting until you get all the resources before you can start. So you want to get it right. Let me tell you something. You will not get it right. It is when you start doing what you are required to do, then you will be able to identify the gaps, work on the weaknesses, build them so that they become strengths. And that's how you're going to get it right. Because get it right is an action, it's a destination. So you cannot get it right from the start. You have to start where you're at and work on you or work to collect the resources that you need so that the idea that you have, because many of you would have placed in you business ideas, but because of perfectionism, I don't have this to wear, I don't have this amount of money, right? And as George gorgeously blessed says, it's a process. Yes, it is a process. So don't wait until. So for those who are just joining, we're talking about the question 3 from this Success is Yours book series. What are the most common limitations that silently steal people's success? And I would have spoken about some in terms of poverty mindset, fear of failure, fear of success, negative self talk, comparison. And I'm now talking about perfectionism, right? So, perfectionism. So, don't wait until, or I want to get a managerial job and yes, and I have to wait, and I have to wait until I have the certain qualifications. Start somewhere and develop yourself. So perfectionism is one. There are some persons, they are always overthinking. Before they start and move, they're overthinking. They are spending so much time analyzing every possible outcome. And by the time you finish, right, thinking about all the outcomes of what you think would happen, then guess what happened? You don't even make the decision to step forward. So don't overthink. Some of you got the confirmation, you know that this is what you are to do. You have the ability, but you're thinking about it. Maybe this is going to happen, that, right? And someone is saying in the chat, true, thinking what if. And by the time you think what if, and you get at the mind, give you an answer, and you think, what if I get that? You get another answer. When you look, guess what happened? You forget that you need to do what you were supposed to do. And then you end up not doing what you would have wanted to do to achieve success. So some of us, once you get an idea, you need to start, because some of us delay too much. So do not delay. So we are talking about limitations that steals people's success. Some persons have a fixed mindset. So you're not willing to change anything. Even if somebody knows, have ventured along that journey or have the knowledge, you're not willing to change because this is what you're used to. You believe that your abilities, intelligence, and circumstances are permanent. So you're not willing to change. It is unchanged. So you don't want to grow. You rather to be where you're currently at. So you have to work on these things because they are limiting your success. So I just spoke to you about mental and mindset limitations. Now I'll be talking to you about emotional and psychological limitations, because there are different types of limitations that are preventing your success. Some limitations are internal and others are external. And there are different ways to deal with them, to overcome them, to break free from them. If you are going to achieve success, then you have to break free from what is limiting you to attain success. There are some of you, you have been through trauma and you're not healed. So we talk about unhealed trauma, past wounds from you were a child, broken relationships. You would have been abused, lost some things, and it was never addressed. So you didn't get any counsel. And so guess what? It is suppressed in you. And because it is suppressed, you don't realize that it is affecting you as a person, that is preventing you from attaining success. Unhealed trauma helps you to make certain decisions that you should not make. Even in relationships, some persons make decisions based on certain trauma. So sometimes, let me talk to you, a gentleman might love you, right? But guess what? He reminds you of a past broken relationship. And so, guess what? You don't step into it. So, you don't attain success. You don't try. All right? You make decisions from a place of self worth. So, you use how you feel as a result of the trauma experience to make current decisions. But I want to encourage you to seek healing. There are some of you, there are deep trauma, wounds that are so suppressed way down, and you might require to get counsel. Don't be afraid to get counseling. If you think that something is bothering you, go and get professional counseling. After you would have prayed, spoken to a friend, read books, and you're still, not where you're supposed to be at, get counseling. Get professional counseling because they will know how to unlock those suppressed trauma. Because sometimes, there are some wounds that you don't even remember about them because you constantly go through different patterns of crisis, loss, abuse that you don't even remember. And so, guess what? When you go to the counselor will, strategically help you to remember. And many times, talking to people, I'm not a professional counselor, but I think I have, some gifting in that, talking to people. And they start crying. And they said, I remember somebody said to me, I never remember that I went through that. Because the wound is so deep that another wound comes and covers it. And that first wound was not dealt with. And so, as a result of that, it affects how you gain success. So, there are some persons, yes, it affects self esteem. And someone, Lorian Phillips, is saying, so true, gorgeously blessed, is saying it affects self esteem. So it thwarts your self esteem. And sometimes some people are displaying another character that is unlike who they really are. And so that will need to be fixed. That character comes about as a result of trauma experience. So even if you are a Christian in the church and you are battling with past wounds, I want to say to you, yes, it is good to read the Bible, good to pray, because I am going to encourage you to do that as a strategy. But some of you will need to get professional help. Good. Some other emotional limitations would include low self worth and low self esteem. So there are some people who think that they're not valuable. And because they think that they are not valuable, they allow people to treat them any and anyhow. And let me tell you something. Um, Adding value to yourself does not mean that you're not humble. Because you must add value to yourself. Some persons think that they are not talented enough or deserving enough to occupy spaces of success. So you don't think of yourself that you can go some places, you can to take the plane, even to increase in your faith and minister the word. Because it's in every area of life, because you can have limitation in your faith. You can have limitation in your relationship. You can have limitation in your career pursuit. You can have limitation in how you view yourself. And these cause, interruption in your journey and what you were supposed to gain and be successful in. You never attain it because you don't value yourself. And let me tell you something. Low self-worth and low self-esteem can be heard in certain words that people use. For me, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can sing. I don't think I can go back to college. Um, I don't know. These are things, these are words or statements that, says that you have low worth or low self-esteem. And so this comes about sometimes because, you certain words were spoken over you when you were younger. We call those in your vulnerable years. And so guess what happened? They become a part of your belief system. And you grow up as an adult, and the little child that is in you has not grown up because you still think of yourself in a low state. You don't think that you can be anything, beyond what you are used to. So you think low of yourself, or you are battling shame because you made a mistake in the past, because you failed. And so you think that you are permanently disqualified. No, you are not permanently disqualified because of a past mistake or failure or circumstances. No. Some persons don't attain success because they have unforgiveness. They are bitter, they are holding bitterness and resentment towards others. You have to let go of people. Because when you let go and forgive people, you're actually releasing yourself. I just want to say to you that unforgiveness is a prison, right? Unforgiveness is a prison. And there is a statement that says, where you will serve the sentence for someone else's crime. So somebody did something to you, and guess what? You hold them up in your heart, right? Grief and loss. You don't want to move on because you lost something. You lost a loved one or a relationship or an opportunity. You're still grieving. You're still thinking about the loss. You're thinking about a missed opportunity, right? Identity crisis is another that silently steal people's success. All right? So I just want to say to you tonight, do not let anything steal your success. Nothing like limitations, your current circumstances, obstacles that you're facing. Do not let any of that steal your success. I want to say to you that success is yours. It's not just for me, or it's not just for another person that you might watch on the television or you might listen or read about. Success is yours. Once you believe it and you work for it, then it is yours. All right? So there are some environmental and social limitations that prevents your success also. So toxic relationships and negative influences. When you surround yourselves with people, right, that are toxic, does not speak anything good, they have certain lifestyle that is unlike what is needed to bring you success, then you have to look and pull yourself back. Pull yourself back away from people who are toxic, negative influences. Because, you have some people that you tell them that you're going to do something and they're telling you something else. You have to be able to identify negative influences and toxic relationships. And I'm not just talking about man and woman relationship. I'm talking about even a friend, a family member. You might have to divorce yourself of a person because of the negative influence that they might have over your life. It's not that you're going to forget them, but you are on a particular journey and you cannot allow them to derail you. So you have to assess that. Because sometimes the words that they speak, the energy that they give off, and the expectation, trust me, it will derail you. So you have to look into that. Lack of support. And this is one of the most quietly devastating limitations that somebody can face because you don't have the support. You're doing an event, you don't have the support because you alone cannot carry out an event. You don't have the support. All right? You don't have the encouragement. You don't have anybody to be your accountant, to keep you accountable that you are completing activities that is geared towards a particular thing that you want to achieve. I want to encourage you to find yourself into a community that you can gain success, like Empower Her to Succeed. It's a community of women that we work together to empower one another to gain success. All right. So every person deserves a circle that cheers them forward. So if you're in a circle that is not cheering you forward, then get out of the circle because that will limit your success. All right? Where there is the absence of support, then that can silence even if you are gifted. So you might be talented, knowledgeable, and gifted, but if you don't have support and encouragement, all right, then it can silence your gift. So I want to say to you, get yourself into a community because when you are put yourself in a community where you have like-minded persons, then they will cheer you forward. When you don't have any support, then that is one limitation that will steal your success. As the saying says, no man is an island, no man stands alone. So another limitation that steals your success is generational cycles and patterns. And we could spend an entire day and night to talk about this. But there are some dysfunctional activities that is within your family or within your environment, right? That it creates a pattern. It can be a pattern of poverty, a pattern of sickness, a pattern of abuse or mediocrity. And because of that, guess what? You operate in the same pattern. In my family, right? One pattern would have been where I would have seen where in my family where they have children from they are in school. So they had to be dismissed from school because, they have their children in the teenage years or so. And I decided that I'm going to break that pattern. And I push because God says He has a plan for me. So I push, to go to college. When I was at Michael Teachers College, they called me Calf Queen. Last year, I celebrated 20 years, as an alumni. And even when I was at the dinner, somebody shouted out and said, the Calf Queen is here. Because guess what happened? Because I grew up with my grandparents, I learned to be contented. So even when I did not have any money to buy any food, if my class finishes at 12 in the day, I am staying by the Michael College until the cafeteria opens at 5 o'clock. Because guess what? I was not willing to live a certain lifestyle and to go out of my way to cater for my needs, right? Because I was dealing with a generational pattern that needs to be broken. And when you break these generational patterns, you're not just breaking it for yourself, but you're breaking it also for those who will come behind you, because you now would have charted a new journey that they can look and follow you. So you got to look in your family um, life and see what are the patterns. We call them generational curses. But sometimes you are encountering, some things over and over and over, and you cannot, you don't know what is happening. Some of you in your family, one generational pattern might be divorce. One generational pattern might be where you're always losing inheritance. So these are things that affects you and limits you and prevent your success, right? So you have to, keep an open eye to the things that will limit your success and work on them. Because if you leave them to chance, then you will reach 100 years old and still do not achieve success. So you have to look on the cycle, the pattern that is in your family and in your community, and break them. So some persons will say that nobody in your family amounted to any good. So what you think you're playing? You have to break the cycle. Whether you're going to use prayer and fasting, or you're going to be active, because some of these patterns requires you to be active. You don't see that everybody in your family who try business fail. You now need to do a root cause to find out why businesses are failing in your family. It could be lack of knowledge. It could be doing the wrong business. So whatever the generational cycles and patterns are, you need to identify them, because that too can be limiting your success. Another one I want to look on is the lack of positive role models. If you don't have any around you, give me a minute. If you don't have any role models around you, everybody now have access to internet. Find a role model online, a positive one, read about their life and how they were able to navigate through life's challenges and be the person who they are, meaning achieving success. Because everybody have a story out there. One of my role model was the late Miles Monroe. The first time I listened to Miles Monroe, it was around when I was 16 years old. My church went to a conference that was held at Teamwork in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and Miles Monroe was the speaker. And so we went there too. That also changed my life, changed my mind. Because when I went there and I listened to Miles Monroe and where God has taken him from, and how he was successful. He was a successful author and businessman and a leader in the church community. Then I believe that I too could attain success. So because of that, I bought all of Miles Monroe's book, Understanding My Potential, right? Maximizing My Potential. And I read that book. Just to let you know that I read that book morning, noon, and night, and I'm not exaggerating. I think I would have read those two books more than 20 times, and I'm not joking. And I would have highlighted sections in the book, that stood out to me that I needed from this role model to empower me to say that you can be successful. So if you cannot find a role model around you, search for one, whether it's in a book or a video, because everybody have access to internet. So you can listen to people on YouTube. You have to get role models. You have to motivate yourselves through others. Very important. So it's very important that you understand that. And sometimes you have societal and cultural expectations, the pressure to conform to what society, culture, or community says you should be. And many times it is against the purpose and will of God that God has for you. What God has truly called you to become. Do not allow societal and cultural expectation to pressure you to be somebody else than what you're not supposed to be. Be yourself. Don't listen to the loud noises of what society is saying, what is required. You have to do this, you have to do that to gain success. Yes, you have to do some things to gain success, because success does not come by itself. It's not a vehicle that drive by itself. You have to know how to drive the vehicle of success to achieve success. And that requires that you must be strategic. You must have some form of coordination and collaboration to achieve success. So success does not just come and knock at your door like that. You have to find it. Some of us have to open the door. And some of those doors are so heavy at times that you still have to fight hard to open the door to success. So do not follow societal and cultural expectation that you have to do this to be successful. You have to do this to have money, or you have to do this to gain fame. No. Take a little time on the journey of life and be consistent. And when you do that, you will achieve success. All right? Don't let geographic and economic barriers bar you. So being born in poverty or in an under-resourced community that limits access to quality education, mentorship, networks, and opportunity, don't let that bar you. There are opportunities out there. When you find a mentor or a model or somebody around you, find out from them how they can help you by opening a door for you. So don't allow where you come from to dictate your success. Or because you don't have a lot of powerful people in your network, you think you cannot be successful. If you're good at doing something, keep doing it. Be consistent and it will work for you, where people will run you after you. All right? Or people who never thought that the method that you were using is of any advantage will now recognize that it is the answer for their crisis or their problem, or it's a solution. And my final thoughts for tonight would have surrounded that of professional and career limitations. So we are talking about what are the most common limitations that silently steal people's success, and why are these limitations so powerful? These limitations are powerful at times because guess what? Some of them come as a result of norms, belief system, right? And so as a result of that, they hold on to you like chains that you have to break free from them. Some people don't even recognize that they are stealing them from being successful. So lack of knowledge, not having the information or understanding or having the wisdom, need to make sound decision to move forward, or being confident enough will become a limitation that affects your success. Some people don't have money because they don't know how to invest. Some people don't have a house because they don't know what to do here in Jamaica. Some people don't know that they can go through NH. They can pay their NHT even if they're unemployed and can still benefit as an unemployed person. Some persons, as the scripture says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge in Isaiah 4 and verse 6. So get wisdom, get understanding. All of that comes from knowledge. All right. Some of you might not have physical access or socially or economically are disconnected from people. Get yourself into certain networking arm. Be a part of a community. Because many brilliant and gifted people never reach their full potential. Sorry, because they could not get into the right rooms or connect with the right resources. People connect people. So get in the right room and get the right resources, and that will bring you success. Lack of money and financial resources. Some persons will say that I wasn't able to do this because I didn't have any money. Or I was able to go to college because I couldn't find a school fee. There are scholarships out there. So financial lack is one of the most tangible and oppressive limitation a person can experience. I encountered that. I had to do some work when I was going to college. I was determined that I'm going to finish college. So I started my own business from Michael, selling phone cards and snacks to help me take care of myself, to pay for my practical because I studied food service production and management. And afterwards, when I recognized that I never had, certain financial support when I moved to the Michael Teachers College, the University of Technology, you know what I did? I went and I got a part-time job. So I was working at Burger King. So attaining success is not easy because sometimes I would leave Papi in Kingston, right? After I finish my classes at 12 to go and pick up a 2 o'clock shift. And that 2 p.m. shift would move me over into 2 p.m. the next morning. And or 1 p.m. And I am getting up in the morning, taking the JUTC bus, that's the public transportation here in Jamaica, and find my way up to UTech again. Sometimes I would sleep on the bus. I made sure to sit at the window. Sometimes I study while in the bus, so that I am not interrogated by people who are passing or needs to, come off the bus and so on. So sometimes I would sleep on the bus and sometimes I would be studying on the bus. So success does not come about in a cheap way. We have to work for it smartly though. So we should never let lack of money and financial resources affects us. All right. We have to build our business, access to healthcare, and create opportunities for growth. When we don't, and education, when we don't have money, then that in itself will restrict us from those abilities to invest in your education and so on. And so there are other limitations like imposter syndrome, lack of vision and clear goals, procrastination, poor financial management, lack of faith, disconnection from God, spiritual attacks and discouragement, disobedience to God's direction, and prayerlessness. What is the bottom line of all of this tonight? I just want to say for those who have joined by Facebook and YouTube, thank you for joining. What we are talking about, success is yours, how to break free from the limitations holding you back. The bottom line of all of this, in terms of talking about what silently steals people's success, I want you to know that every single limitation on what I have just shared, right? None of them have the final word over your life. Not one of those limitations have the final word on your life. It does not finalize whether you can achieve success or not. If you renew your mental barrier, meaning that if you renew your mind, right? If you change your mindset, get healing for all of those emotional wounds, get close to God, then you can achieve success. Every gap that you face can be filled. And every lonely journey that you are going through, you can find a community to offer support. I just want to say to you tonight, as this is my philosophy, poverty, second only to sin, is one of the most powerful weapons against humanity. But I want to say to you that faith, education, consistency, and resilience are more powerful. So do not let anything that you identify as a limiting factor to limit your success. I want you to understand that success is yours, irregardless of people's perspective, irregardless of the norms that you're used to. Success is yours. So, why so many people struggle to believe that success truly belongs to them? Why some people believe success is only reserved for a privileged few? It's because of their belief system. It's because of what they are used to, their norms. But I want to say to you tonight, get out of that. Get out of that. Believe that you can be successful. Work to attain success. And if you are not able to do it alone, get help. Get help. Get help, because success is yours. I want to thank you tonight for joining, for tuning into this episode. My topic for tonight is success is yours. How to break free from the limitations holding you back. Do not allow any limitation to hold you back. Know that the Lord says in Jeremiah 29 and verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future." I want to say to you that if the Lord has given me success in different areas of my life, then He can do the same for you. Remember that faith without work also is dead. So you will have to work to gain success. And in the final analysis, I want to let you know that whatever you think is what you become. So replace negative self-talk with positive ones, because you were created in the image of God. You were created with creative power to create your world. You can be successful. Break free from the limitations that are limiting you. And when you break free and attain that success, help others to break free also. Again, we want to thank you for joining in tonight's episode. And we would have had persons commenting in the chat. Thank you for engaging in the conversations. I am your host, Dr. Kereisia Brown-Lyesam, and it was a pleasure to be on tonight with you. Thank you for joining every week. Remember to tag someone, and encourage them to join. Next week, we'll be having another episode. And next week, we'll be having another guest that will be talking about how they attain success, how they navigate the challenges of their lives, that situation that they face, and how they overcome and are successful. I want to say to you that Empower Her to Succeed is a community that we work together as women to help hold the hands of each other so that each and every one of us can achieve success. Remember that you cannot do it on your own. So you need a supportive mechanism. So you can be a part of our group to help you to achieve success. Thank you so much again for joining. And remember to join again next week for another exciting episode. Thank those who joined from Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Remember that you can be successful. All you have to do is to get rid of the limitations that are limiting your success. Work hard, and with faith through God, you can achieve success. Have yourselves a wonderful night and a wonderful rest of the week. And remember that God has a plan for you. He says his plan is to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Break the limitations that are limiting you because success is yours. Take care of yourselves and God bless you.
She's rising up, heart full of grace. With every step, she's paving the way. Through every storm, she finds a light. With faith in her soul, she's ready to fight. From the pain, she finds a power, turning trials into golden hours. Challenges don't stand a chance. She's on a mission, taking a stand. Empower her to succeed. Fuel her fire, plant the seed. Let her overcome, let her lead. She's the potential the world needs. With love, with faith, with every breath she takes. A transformative story is what we make. And this is her life, this is her creed. Empower her to succeed. She's a doer too, breaking ceilings, breaking through. With every voice that lifts her name, together we rise, we shift the game. She's more than enough, she's made to rise above. When the world says no, she answers with love. Every breath she takes, a transformative story is what we make. But this is her life, this is her creed. Empower her to succeed. With Kereisia and shame, yeah, hear her rise. This is where challenges meet purpose, and dreams touch the sky.